Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome to, the best damn golf podcast on the planet. That would be the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm lucky enough to be your host, Dennis Silvers. And we've got a fantastic show for you today with a gentleman that been playing golf for any amount of time. You probably are very familiar with. He's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite guests that we have on the show, and we're lucky enough to have him on again today. Anyway, I hope the weather's good in your part of the country. I played golf last Sunday. It was like 100 degrees. Today, it's in the low 60s. We got wind blowing. We had some rain this morning. So it's crazy. We've been having a real roller coaster for the last couple of months, and it's getting so bad. I may move to Coral Gables and go live with Jim for a while or something like that. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff coming up in the future. The 123rd United States Open starts on June the 15th, and that's being played on a course when I lived in Los Angeles, was lucky enough to play several times. Los Angeles Country Club, of course, they have two courses, north and south. The south is real short, and they're going to play the north course, which is about 7,200 yards plus. So it's not a whole lot for these guys. And it's going to be a good tournament. I'm sure it is. Jim Furyk was announced as the next United States President's Cup captain, set for next year, of course, at the Royal Montreal Golf Club in Canada, of course, And Mike Weir is the captain of the international side, which kind of surprised me, but I guess he was a good pick because, number one, Mike is Canadian, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the only Canadian to have won a major. So we're going to see how that goes. Anyway, let me give you a little bit of background on our guest today, Mr. Jim McLean. Jim turned professional way back in 1973, and I still think they were playing hickory shafts back then. I might be wrong, but he was a touring professional for just a couple of years and has two professional wins. Jim has been recognized as one of the best instructors in the game of golf for a long, long time. Jim has garnered many awards and recognitions in his teaching career. National PGA Teacher of the Year in 1994. Pacific Northwest Golf Association Hall of Fame in 2003. World Teachers Golf Hall of Fame in 2018, just to name a very few. Jim is the CEO of the Jim McLean Golf Schools with, I believe, 8 locations now. We're going to have to ask him. Jim has taught over 100 touring professional and several major champions as well. He has written a lot of top-selling instructional books, along with a lot of CDDs, and is the creator of the famous now X Factor. And we're going to talk to Jim about that, of course. So without further ado, let's bring up my buddy, Mr. Jim McLean. Jim, so glad to see you. So glad to have you on. Thanks for taking time out.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Good to be with you again.
I appreciate it. Let me kick it off this way, Jim. You have taught a lot of great tour players, both men and women. Do all of them share a certain commonality? And if they do, what is that?
Well, they're all very gifted players. I can tell you that they're gifted people, great hand-eye coordination. They have different golf swings, different approaches to the game. Some like to practice more, some like to play more, but they've all, at some time in their life, worked really hard at the game. A lot of them continue to work super hard at the game. There are a few gifted guys that I've known that were great players that actually didn't practice that much and once they got on the tour and still played great. But most players really have to stay after it, really have to stay working at it. And when you look at the PGA Tour players right now, almost every one of them has a golf coach, somebody that's watching over them, and they also have a great caddy.
Yeah. How do you explain the fact then? Of course, they've got an entourage. To be honest, they've got the mental guy, they got the nutritionist, they got the swing coach, they got this and that and the other. How in the heck did these guys from way back when, Jim, play such great golf then?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it, Dennis? We back then, I think there have been some great players that did have a teacher, but certainly not the mental teacher, the strength conditioning coach, the psychologist. Jack Nicklaus had Jack Grout as his
Yeah.
teacher regularly, and that was pretty usual, really. He was ahead of his time there. Somebody that would really watch over his game. Back then, was a lot of the tour players helped each other. Definitely might have had a teacher or somebody that they saw periodically, but nothing like it is today.
Yeah, totally. Let me ask you as a side note, how did you get involved in the game? How did your interest grow to start playing golf? Who got you involved?
Well, my parents both played. My dad was a very good player. He was an engineer for Boeing in Seattle. I grew up next to a golf course, Rainier Golf Course in South Seattle. It was just the opportunity that it was right there. I played all other sports, but I did have the lucky ability to be able to get on a golf when I was young, which makes a very big difference.
Yeah, no, that's great, and you've got quite an amateur record in Seattle as well. Even though you went to the University of Houston, which is a great school, and played on their golf team for 4 years or something. Uh, Jim, why do you think most weekend golfers seem to be, and this is with tour pros to some degree, seem to be better at one particular part of the game as opposed to the other parts? Some guy comes out, can't hit a drive out of his shadow, but yet he's got a fantastic short game. Another guy is just smoking fairway woods, can't putt worth a damn. Why do you think that is?
Well, there's different types of golf swings, Dennis, and there's a swing that is very productive for a driver. That would be a guy or a girl that has more of a sweeping swing. They tend to hit up on it. That's not great for short irons, for sure. The guy that hits terrible drivers and hits good irons hits down on the ball a lot more, takes divots. So you have the two different types of swings. That's pretty still even true on the tour. A lot of times, like Nicklaus was not the greatest wedge player,
Yeah.
but he was a great long iron player, great driver, great putter, everything else. Same with Greg Norman, one of the greatest drivers of all time, but not great with the wedges. So that it's even to a degree on the PGA Tour.
Is putting a obviously a very critical part of the game? I call it part of the scoring game. Is being a great putter something that you're born with, or can you really learn to be a great putter?
I have this conversation with Brad Faxon, a great friend of mine. I used to work with Brad a lot. He's working with Rory McIlroy right now, and he really tried to get Rory off being a mechanical
Hmm.
and too high on his effort level, etc. And then Faxon is, known as one of the great putters of all time, and he hates it when people say he's a natural putter because he said he worked. I know he worked hard at it as a kid, but Brad is a great ping pong player, really good racquetball player. He played in the U.S. Open in ping pong. He's got tremendous hand-eye
Yeah,
coordination.
yeah,
So yeah, he's super gifted. I know Ben Crenshaw's a very good friend of mine too, also known as one of the great putters of all time. And big long stroke,
hmm,
fluid stroke, and just rolled. Some people just put that amazing roll on a
yeah,
golf ball. It's just turning over and looks like it's just seeking the hole out right from as soon as they hit it.
yeah. No, I've had Brad on. He's obviously a great guest. Does the type of putter that a person uses, Jim, really affect the way they putt? Some like a mallet, some type of blade, this and that. Is it really worth getting fitted for a putter, or is that going to help you if you've got a bad stroke? I'm sorry.
Well, true. I mean, that's obviously having a terrible stroke's not going to work too well. But sometimes you pick a old putter out of a bin or back in the garage, and you make everything with it. And it's a lot of it's how the putter looks to you. but it's
Yeah.
also where you put your hands on the club as far as a little forward press or straight up and down and what looks right to you. And some people like that mallet head, like John Rahm's using a mallet,
Mm-hmm.
and some people like more of a blade. You see way less of the blade type putters nowadays, although we saw, phenomenal putters using, the Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus type of blade, semi-blade putters at least, and even bullseye putters way
Yeah.
back. But don't see too much of that anymore.
No.
Mickelson still, you would use that type of putter. But a lot of the real big-headed putters now, the gigantic,
Right.
MOI putters, but they still miss putts. I told Faxon, I don't think anybody's making more putts than he did when they had spike marks, couldn't fix anything. The greens weren't good,
Yeah.
and he still made everything.
Yeah, he
So
did. He did. That's very true. Jim,
it's a little bit up here. Mental.
when you were on
Yeah.
tour and a certain part of your game started going south, which I know happened if rarely, if at all, what did you do to get it into the house?
Well, I played, not very much on the PGA Tour. I played the mini tours we played back then. So you're throwing up your own money. You're playing for a lot of cash, and I did that for a long time actually, in smaller, that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And what for me, Dennis, I really worked hard on my teaching. Even when I was starting to play there, I was working with different teachers, which is a bad thing to do for your own game. I really understand that now, but it definitely helped my teaching. And then when I stopped playing and I went to New York to start at Westchester Country Club,
Mm-hmm.
we had a tour event there, but I would go see all the top teachers and I got to spend a lot of time with them. And I got very lucky being a player. I played in U.S. Opens, I played in the Masters, et cetera. So I had kind of an entree into some of the great player teachers like
Right.
Venturi and Jackie Burke, as the one that won major championships, and top players on the PGA Tour became very good friends of mine. Also, Claude Harmon,
Yep.
Butch's dad,
Yep.
spent a lot of time with him. But I was able to probably do that because they at least had a little respect for my game, that I'd been in the fight.
Sure.
And I've been out there, and I had a tremendous curiosity that they probably could see, and I loved doing it. I take notes like crazy when I talked to them. I tried to, make sure I got down exactly what they said, but also to play with them, to spend the time. Gardner Dickinson also, I would play with those guys. Not too much of Mr. Harmon because he was older. Actually, only played one hole with him, to be honest. And when I was when I was the pro at Tamara's in Rancho Mirage, California, and he was right across the street at Morningside. But we had lunch every week, and I'd watch him teach. And he was one of the great storytellers, like Butch is a chip off the block.
Yeah.
They're really great storytellers and very tremendous person to talk to, and very, very knowledgeable about the game.
I've been to a lot of events with Butch, and he's a fabulous speaker. Got some really, really great stories, and he's really good. Last question before we take our first break, Jim. You hear a lot of talk about having a good pre-shot routine. Personally, I think it's overblown and really not all that necessary. What's your take on that?
Well, I think you're right. For most people, I see these people go through all these gyrations of a perfect routine, and then they have a terrible golf swing and hit a horrible shot. They took all this time, so really, all the mental stuff when you're a beginner golfer is not nearly as important as getting the mechanics of a golf swing.
Right.
Now, when you get to be a better player and you start playing in tournament golf, where you start feeling a lot more pressure, and that's when the pre-shot routine actually is very, very important.
Right.
So it really is a very big imbalance between the beginner, a person that doesn't play much, to somebody that's playing for money or playing at least bigger amateur.
Yeah. I personally think Jack Nicklaus and probably Tiger have two of the best course management games of all time. Does course management work into a pre-shot routine? Because you're doing your pre-shot, you're going, look, I don't want to hit it right because I'm going to be in the water. Are they symbiotic or any relationship?
Well, they are symbiotic. The course management definitely ties in with the mental part because, like you said, you just picture that water, and that's the mental part. And then playing to the right spot is the management part, and making us the your best golf swing instead of a scared golf swing. And definitely, if your last thought is don't hit it in the water, that's probably where it's going.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, Jim, we're going to step away. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back with our very special guest, Hall of Famer Jim McLean, and also Alan Van Valkenburg is going to come to you with our tricks of the trade. We'll be right back. The revolutionary Power to Golf Club requires no swing to hit golf shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing. It's empowering golfers with physical issues to continue enjoying time golfing with friends and family. With just the push of a button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Visit online, powergolfclub.com.
Hello everybody, it's Alan again with Florida Golf Live Tricks of the Trade, and we just want to say thank you to all our subscribers. I'm going to do the golf ball trick, which is 2 golf balls, one on top of the other, and it kind of really deals with eye-hand coordination, but it's a really fun trick. It actually keeps you really focused on what you have to do, and that is hit the back of the golf ball. It's all about hitting the back of the golf ball and coming through the shot. So let's try it real quick and have a little bit of fun, and let's just swing smooth and pop the golf ball right up. Tricks of the Trade, Alan Van Valkenburg. Have a FloridaGolfLife.com view.
Welcome back, everybody, to More Than 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, and we're starting a great conversation with our special guest, Jim McLean. As you know, Jim, I interview a lot of really good mental coaches who mostly all say and tell me that golf is 100% mental. You agree or disagree?
No, totally disagree.
Okay.
I've got a lot of great friends, top sports psychologists. I work with almost all of them. No, absolutely don't agree with that because you got to learn how to swing the golf club. There's all these skill sets to learn in golf that you could sit in a chair and be the best mental person in the world. But if you don't have the hand-eye coordination, you haven't done the work, and don't know what you're doing except visualize it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I often ask, and I think I've asked you on one of our interviews, between the two, if you had really good swing mechanics or a really good mental game, which would you prefer to have? I know personally, I'm wacky anyway, I'd like to have some real good swing mechanics. You agree?
Yeah, it'd be great. I think I would too. I mean, I've seen, to be honest, when you get to the highest levels, I've really seen in my life really great players who didn't make it on the PGA Tour because you've got to be great mentally when you get to that level, no doubt. And I think it's way more important as a top golfer to be great mentally.
Yeah.
But it's not great to hit the ball terrible, scratch around and grind out scores with a great mental game. It's just not that much fun. And it is fun to smoke that driver, a nice long ripping draw down the fairway. Get a lot of satisfaction from that. It's a tough question, but yeah, it's a combination. Once guys and girls already have the skills,
right,
then it's 100% mental.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I do I do agree with that. Absolutely. You kind of meld both of them. The better that you get. Does an individual's personality, Jim, help them in golf instruction? Whether some get it quicker than others, and their type of personality, they're in a rush, they talk fast, they do stuff. Does that come into play at all? Have you found that over the years?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got a lot of teachers that have taught for me, and some have moved on to be top teachers at their clubs or be the head pros or whatever. But usually the teachers that are good have to be good at connecting with people and have to have many ways to say the same thing. Basically, I like a teacher that can demonstrate the shots, that can you know show people what to do right in front of them. I like to go in and show people video too, but I think when I get in and hit all types of bunker shots right in front of them, or certain chip shots, or drive the ball, whatever, that's got a big impression, and you've got to get their attention. That's
Yeah,
for sure. You've got to get that person tuned in and enjoying what they're doing.
yeah, yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. And then that brings me to my next question, because your timing was very good. Obviously, you have a lot of playing experience at the University of Houston. You were a touring professional, won multitudinous amateur events, and you're a really really good coach. Can somebody be a really really good instructor, Jim? Do you feel, without having played competitively?
Well, I think it's way harder. I think it's very tough, but it is possible to be a very good teacher. I think if you get completely involved in you know the all of the technical things in the game, but you still don't really have the feel for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a much harder road to go down. But I know people can do a good job at teaching without having the skills themselves.
Would you agree with me that communication was probably on the top of the list as far as being a good instructor?
Oh, definitely. Right at the top list. I think a towering knowledge in the game, and then that ability to deliver the message in an interesting and a great way. Some teachers just can do it, and others can't. It's like
Yeah,
anything else. Some teachers are just a lot better that I've seen in my life.
yeah, yeah. As far as lessons go, Jim, there's been talk from industry people that they're of the belief that an hour's lesson is overkill, way too much information. They would like to see lessons 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, to work on one thing only. And I think there's a legit argument for that. What do you think?
I think that's a legitimate argument. I always gave half-hour lessons and did thousands of them when I first started. That's all we did was half-hour lessons. And I gave a lot of shorter lessons than that where people came back and said they played great. But I think it's become the standard. The hour lesson is kind of the standard
Yeah,
lesson now,
yeah,
or even longer. And when you're using all the technology that we have available to us now, it takes time. My teaching, the way I've taught my whole life, is using video. Well, I had a little camera before, but once that they came out about 1980,
yeah,
I've used that, and I would sit down with people, and I would be able to talk with them for a while, show them what we're doing, and develop a plan. Hopefully, it is just one or two things to work on. Yeah,
right,
because in an hour, if you stand out on the lesson team, people just start throwing ideas, tips at you. It's just a waste of time,
right. No,
or
I
worse.
I agree. I agree. What's the biggest change in the game, Jim, that you see since you were playing professionally on tour?
Well, it's a completely different game. It's not even close to the same game that I used to play. It's a power. Golf's always been a power game. Top. The greatest when I played, Nicholas was playing, and all of it. Johnny Miller, I've played with quite a number of times. So they could rip it, but the ball wasn't going nearly as far. The ball curved a lot more. You could hit it out of bounds, you could hit it in the lake a lot easier than nowadays. It curved the ball, maneuvered the ball, but now you see really the best players are shrinking the golf courses, and they've had to make courses super long. You mentioned LA Country Club. I think it's maybe longer than you said. I played it recently. I think it's going to be very tough. I think the course is going to hold up pretty good. I think it's going to be a tough U.S. Open. I'm looking forward to being there.
Yeah.
But it's a different game because, the guys are carrying the ball. Most of the guys on the PGA Tour are carrying the ball 300 or further.
Incredible.
And that's just changed the game. But look, the game's doing good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really what I'd like to see, but on the other hand, I benefit. Golf's booming. So, it's not exactly what I would like to see, really, but I'm very happy with what golf's doing right now.
Yeah, no, I am too. And you're probably right about LA Country Club being longer. But Jim, you're not supposed to correct the host of the show. You know that. Anyway, let's change gears.
Bad mistake.
Yeah, no, sorry. You're forgiven. Let's change course a little bit, and I want to ask you this before we take our next short break. Speaking of the ball, as you know, the USGA and the R&A intend to roll back the ball. I know most of the tour players don't like it because they say, look, I've trained all my life to hit the damn ball far. The fans don't like it. They want to see these guys hit it off the end of the earth. The ball manufacturers aren't crazy about the idea of having to come up with a new competitive ball. I think it's stupid. But first of all, what's your thoughts on that? And secondly, do you really think it's going to make all that much of a difference, Jim?
Well, I think it'll make a little bit of a difference. I think you can't have the ball keep going further and further and further. And you can watch the ads every year from the top manufacturers, and the first thing they say is the ball's it's going further, it's going straighter, and the clubs are better, and everything's better. It's not just the ball, but the ball's the main thing. And I don't know if I like the bifurcation idea, or just have everybody drop back a little bit. When you see a guy hit a driver with it, let's say it's rollback, like they said, they're still going to hit it over 300 yards. They're not going to hit it 350, but they hit it probably 315.
Right.
20, from what I understand. But when you watch somebody hit a ball like that, you can't really tell if they hit it 300, 310, 320, or 350 until you get to the big boys, the long drive guys.
Right.
And then that's really, I just saw someone swing 166 miles an hour. So, that's
incredible.
That's just so crazy. With the top guys on the PGA Tour at 130 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But think about how unreal that is.
Oh, gosh.
And where golf's going. Yeah. Funny.
Oh, that's astonishing. That really is. That really is. All right, Jim, stand by. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish up with Mr. Jim McLean, and he's headquartered in Coral Gables in Florida, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So hang in there with us. We return right after this. One of the perks about being in golf media is that I get to try every club ever made. Of course, like most things, some are better than others. I'm here to tell you that I have found unquestionably the absolute best performing set of irons I have ever played, and my scores show it. Let me introduce you to Grindworks, custom fitted irons that are made to fit your game. Grindworks offers players 3 different styles of irons. You can choose muscle back irons, cavity back irons, and even blades, along with some awesome wedges. And when you purchase your clubs, Grindworks lets you choose the type of shaft you want, the type grip you prefer, and even will adjust the loft and lie of your clubs if needed. That's unheard of. So what are you waiting for? Feel the power and experience and performance of these amazing clubs. Simply go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046 to order. Trust me, your handicap will love you for it.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, we are back, everybody, continuing our discussion with Mr. Jim McLean, who's hanging with us here on the 19th Hole podcast. Jim, of course, you are very well known as the creator of the X Factor. Number one, how did that come about, and why do you think it's so important?
Well, I was very interested in body movements and body motions and body angles in the golf swing. And I looked around, I didn't see any books written just on what the body does. Mostly it was what the golf club was doing in the golf swing, the hands and arms, maybe more so in the swing, and some pictures, etc. But really didn't tell you what the body should be doing in the swing and how to move. And I was a big believer in my teaching that I would tell people, you know, what the club does influences what your body does, and what your body does influences what the club does. I'm not sure which is the most important, but I know it goes both ways. And also, when I'd ask somebody where would they like their body to be in certain positions in the swing, say like an impact, I kind of got the deer in the headlights answer or look. You know, they didn't have an answer. It was or what they showed me was not good. So I wrote an article. I brought an article to Golf Magazine. I was always throwing articles in, so I did a lot of writing. Golf Illustrated before, then Golf Magazine, and now Golf Illustrated. But, you know, so I threw this article in about the 4 turns in the golf swing. And that was how much the angle of the knees, the angle of the hips, the angle of the shoulders, the angle of the head, as the head the turns, the 4 turns, your head turn in the swing. So they didn't like it. They never even came back to me. I finally called down to the guy and I said, hey, not to the guy, to the editor, George Pepper. I said, you know, I sent in some articles, particularly this one on the 4 turns. He says, too complicated. You know, it's too much for our readers. I said, well, you know, I think it's.
Oh, we just lost Jim. Oh, there you
go. Are we
go.
okay? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Got a little phone call interruption. Yeah, so he said, well, come down to the office and you'll talk to the writers here if you think it's good. So I went down, we talked to them, and they said, well, let's do 2 turns. What 2 turns do you want? Well, I said, well, it's got that would be the shoulders and the hips, the differential there. And they liked that. And then one of the writers, John Andrusani, said, well, it looks like an X. We could call it the X Factor. So I said, okay, that's okay. And we did this article, and it was the #1 all-time selling magazine cover. So then I did a few more cover pieces. Then I did the DVD. I did 10-part series on the Golf Channel.
Right.
And then I finally did the book. Was the last thing I did was the X Factor book.
Yeah. When you mention the Golf Channel, it always reminds me of my dear friend, and I know you know Dean Rymeth, you know, who who that. And Dean's he's a good guy. All right, I want your honest opinion and thoughts about the LIV Tour. So I know several players that are playing on the LIV Tour, and all the litigation and all the garbage that's going on between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, and so on and so forth. Take it away.
Yeah, that's a really controversial subject. That's really divided the golf world for sure. Really gotten ugly. We're in the courts now, which is it's too bad to it's too bad to see this happen.
Yeah.
It's a fracture, of
Yeah.
course, and there's both sides of this story, and there's a bit of a hypocrisy there in some ways, because there's so much business being done from the President of the United States all the way down to other companies with Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So I know that's the controversy and where the money's coming from. I don't know if they were upset if there would have been somebody else that would have sponsored the tour, and then if these top players would have left, I don't think they would have been happy about that. Maybe it wouldn't have been as bad as this, but it was huge money for those guys to turn down. The format of having the 14 tournaments is interesting, and they can still, at the time we didn't know if they could play in the majors. But now when you think about the lifestyle that they have, the money they're making, it's a pretty attractive thing for those guys to say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do $100 million to go play. And, these tournaments, they play 3 rounds. They tee off at 1 o'clock or 1:30 at day. So, it's not like you get that 7 a.m. tee time. You got to get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't like that 54 holes. I think 72 holes, really, it's more of a competitive situation on the PGA Tour. Obviously, there's still a lot of great players on the PGA, but you really did take out, 30 really good players right off the PGA Tour. But the PGA Tour then has fought back, and they've dramatically increased purses. They've gone to designated tournaments.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to seem with the other tournaments on the PGA Tour. It's like almost like 2 tours, but they're kind of working. They're figuring all this whole thing out. But it is a very controversial subject in the game of golf, and a lot of people are really, a lot of hatred. It's really bad. So
Well,
I get it.
Jim, I think it's coming from the traditionalists. 54 holes. That's not a tournament, and I really do think it is, only because you've got to keep your foot metal to the pedal, because it is only 54.
Right. That's true.
But they don't like that. They don't like the idea of these guys wearing shorts. They don't like the idea of the music. I think it's more the traditionalists, but I think this is going to be a watershed year for them. They're on the CW. They're getting some television. So it's going to be interesting to really see what happens. You've heard people for a long time, Jim, come up with the term, we have to grow the game. Everybody wants to grow the damn game. All right, let me ask you this. How do we do that, sir?
Well, I think mostly in the trenches, where we've been in with junior golf, helping people play better. I think that's the most important thing that a PGA pro can do. I was a PGA professional for 19 years at clubs, at some great clubs.
Right.
I think that was good, but and I think all the PGA pros really do help grow the game. Those are the guys that really do grow the game. And then I think with the teaching part, I think we touch a lot of people. I'm open to the public, and we got a ton of kids at our school here, and I guess that's how you grow the game. Certainly the tour players, they grow the game because people admire what they do, and they get to see great golf. So absolutely, they're in it. I think those are the kind of the ground forces in actually growing the game.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you got some good owners of clubs, et cetera, that want to help.
Right. I'm glad you said public. If somebody is in your neighborhood and wants to come see you, how do they do that, Jim?
Well, the best way is to go to jimmclean.com. Pretty easy to find. We have two schools here in Miami, one down at Miami Beach, South Beach, a little dangerous place down there for parking. And I'm up at the very safe Coral Gables location next to the University of Miami. So we're both very close to downtown Miami, though. One on one side, one on the other.
Now, I said at the top, you 8 locations. Where are they?
I've got 6 locations.
I'm sorry, 6.
And I've got one I'm going to in Madrid again. I went last year. I've got one in Madrid that I've had for over 20 years.
Nice.
I'm speaking to the Spanish Federation this fall. And then I've got a school in Park City, just outside of Park City, Utah. One in Seoul, South Korea, which I was going to go this year, but looks like it's going to be next year. And I've got one in Mayakoba, which we were talking about the LIV Tour, and they had a PGA Tour event for 14 straight years at Mayakoba, and they did an LIV this past year. So I went down. It's the first one I've been to see.
Yeah.
It was interesting because the players all go to the party on Tuesday night. That's a part of the deal where they show up. So that's one different thing right there. I don't think anybody talks about. So the sponsors down there in Mayakoba, that I know those people, they enjoyed that. That was a fun thing for them at that particular place. But probably is not all places, but that was they were pretty happy with it. I think they'd like to do a PGA Tour event though. Also, they'd like to do one again.
Oh,
so they're okay with both.
That would be excellent. Last question: do you think the American women will ever dominate again on the LPGA Tour? Because I really don't think so, Jim.
Well, the USGA is finally going to do something where we're going to have some kind of help to kids that don't grow up at a country club.
Yeah,
it's very tough for kids that because they, playing the AJGA Junior Tour and all these other tours. Both of my boys played all that stuff. It's very expensive to play, and a lot of kids can't do it.
Right.
But they can in these other countries. They have these great federations, especially Asia. Over in Spain, I'm going to speak. Last year I spoke to the Junior Federation over there. They've got all this free stuff for the kids. It's just amazing, just great, cool stuff. We don't have that in America, so it makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So we've got mostly country club kids, not totally, but we're not quite as open as other countries. So that makes it tougher. It makes it tougher.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about it. Is Tiger Woods done competitively? Because I sure think he is.
Well, I did Sirius XM at the Masters this year, and I do the majors. I'm going to be at LA too. So.
Oh, are you going to be there? Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I saw him, walking around. He was limping pretty bad, and I thought Augusta was probably the worst course for him because it's really up and down hills.
Yeah.
Plus, we had the bad weather.
Yeah.
On certain places, he just got this operation.
Yeah.
Another operation.
Yeah.
Maybe that can do it because he can still hit it, but when you don't have that right leg where you can push off and walk 72 holes to play, it's a big hill for him to climb with all the injuries he's had. I think all of us want Tiger Woods to be there. I mean, he was, such a huge draw to the game. He pulls in everybody, and I love watching Tiger Woods play myself. But it was kind of hard to watch him at times this last year, and as the tournament goes on, to see him kind of struggle, just moving.
And he's supposed to be out for a year or something like that, rehabbing, and that's really tough to come back with, Jim, as you know. And playing home games, heck of a lot different than playing, in a tour event. Different kind of pressure and everything. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Jim, it was so great having you on the show. So great talking to you again. So great seeing you again. We got to do it sooner than later. And I appreciate your time. It was awesome.
I enjoyed it a lot, Dennis. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Jim McLean, everybody. All right, we'll step away, take one more short break, come back, finish up the show. Cincinnati Power to Golf Club is helping golfers around the world continue to enjoy the greatest game of all. This amazing club requires no swing to hit shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing to hit shots, including fades, draws, low shots, as well as high ones. One incredible club does it all. Golfers with a wide variety of physical issues, including bad backs, hips, shoulders, and more, are now back in the game golfing with friends and family. Just set the club to the desired distance, and with a push of the button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. The Power to Golf Club has been endorsed by some of the biggest names in golf, and the number of golfers enjoying the game by use of our unique technology continues to grow. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Don't be left on the sidelines. Get back in the game today. Visit at powergolfclub.com. Hi, I'm Dennis Overs, host of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, and I'm here to tell you about some great wedges and putters from Grindworks USA. First, the Grindworks Barrett Collection Wedge Set. These wedges are unparalleled in today's market. The wedges come to you in 3 different lofts, 51, 57, and 61 degrees, all designed to be able to spin around the greens with the ability to hit high, middle, or low shots around the greens. Grindworks also makes a line of their Windsor Wells Precision Machine putters. This beautiful design of putter was not only created to be appealing to the eye, but to perform better on the greens. You will gain a ton of confidence to help lower your scores. Go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046. I promise your scores will love you for it. All right, we want to thank Grindworks USA and Encore Golf for titling the show, as well as all our other advertisers. We're going to have another great show for you next time. You know that. Hope you get a chance to get out and play some golf and keep it in the short stuff. So until then, we'll see you back next time. So long, everybody.